Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the latest edition of Swan TV. I'm James Groves, Managing Director of Indigo Swan. And today I'm delighted to be joined by Chris Reeve of Reeve Social Media, but also of Talk Norwich City fame, I have to say, after his latest exploits and latest challenges. Chris, how you doing?
I'm really well, thank you, James. Really well. As I said to you off air, I'm feeling particularly good about things at the moment. I can taste normality again, and I'm feeling a lot more positive. You know, the summer is almost here. We're not quite there here in England, but I can get a sense of summer. And now restrictions are lifting, and yeah, there's a lot to be really optimistic about, and really quite a lot to be positive about at the moment, James. So I'm feeling great. Thank you.
And Norwich City are Premier League bound.
Well, exactly. I mean, if you didn't have anything else to be positive about, if you're a Norwich City fan and you're not positive at the moment, you'll never be positive. It's just it's been a joy, James, to watch them. It really has. We've been absolutely phenomenal this season. Every single person associated with the football club has really pulled together throughout this pandemic, which I'm sure we'll go on to talk about. Yeah. It's been a real joy. I can't really hide the fact I'm a Norwich fan, can I?
I was going to say, the background gives it away. Look at that. Look at that. All the scribbles and everything. So, I mean, obviously start with that. So Talk Norwich City, you've just recently come off the back of doing a 24-hour charity live stream. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But Talk Norwich City, how did it come about? How did you and Jack get started with that, and what's the story behind it?
Well, Talk Norwich City, to tell you the truth, was born out of my best mate's bedroom, Jack Reeve, who founded the channel. And cut the long story short, I actually went on the channel, God, years and years ago for an interview with Jack, and we just really clicked straight away. One of the reasons for that is that he'd just recently lost his dad, and I've lost my mum to cancer. So we kind of connected and bonded through that grief, and just became best mates. And throughout the years, just got closer and closer and closer, and just basically, the long and short of it is created the best Norwich City, fan channel there is. And, it's been an absolute joy, because the longer it's gone on, the more we've unlocked, the more opportunities we've had, the more players that we've spoken to, executive members of the board, etc. So yeah, that's the story of Talk Norwich City. If you don't know what it is a Norwich City YouTube channel where, for example, this season we've been doing watch-alongs to keep fans company, but in previous seasons and next season it will be very much, podcasts and interviews. But it's a channel by fans for the fans, to put it simply.
It's not just the best Norwich City one; it's the best football one. I don't think there's any other club that has supporters quite like it. To be perfectly honest, so for me, fair play to you guys, and like I say, you've taken it to another level. But before we get onto the charity stream you just done, I suppose the question is, with the lockdown, and you've talked about the watch-alongs, how did that impact on the channel, and how have you had to, I suppose, innovate to a certain extent to keep viewers, to keep the momentum going in what has probably been a difficult year for that type of media to a certain extent?
Yeah, 100%. I'm happy to be honest and transparent and disclose that we were worried, because obviously the lifeblood of a football channel is going to the football, right? That's what it's all about. And we've never really quite felt comfortable with doing what we've done this season. And I'm a big believer in the quote, innovate or die. I think it's really important. And I think during the pandemic, more and more people have realized that and appreciated it more than ever before. And to be fair, even before the pandemic, I've really, put a real strong emphasis on Talk Norwich City or Reeve Social Media or anything I've been involved in. You've got to keep innovating and don't stand still. And even when things are good, what else can you do to give more value to your customer or your audience? And I think that's really, really important thing to do. But yeah, no, so look, we worried about it, but it's paid off massively. We really saw it as almost our duty, James, to make sure the fans could come together still for that sort of pie and pint banter that we were from being at the football. Sitting at home watching a sterile football match with no fans is just, and even with the injected fan noise, it's just it's nonsense, to be honest with you, and it's just not. It's not as enjoyable. So we created the TNC watch along, as I say, where basically anyone from all around the world can join and watch Jack and I watch football. And so we kind of half commentate on it. We drink beer, we laugh, we joke, we cry, we dance, we sing, we chant, and it's just...
You dress up.
We dress up, exactly. We've got our sailors' hats. So we just felt it, as I say, we felt it was our duty to keep up the fun, keep up the entertainment, because that's why football fans enjoy football. It's their release.
Yeah. So
we really enjoyed it, and everything culminated towards this 24-hour charity live show for the Big C, which I know that you guys are connected with it, Indigo Swan, and good on it, is an absolutely phenomenal local charity.
100%.
So yeah, everything culminated towards that, James.
So moving on to that, you've just raised a huge amount of money. So over £20,000 on the Talk Norwich City watch along, 24 hours. For those of you listening who haven't seen it, Chris and Jack did a full-on 24-hour watch along on the TNC channel. Lots of different guests from all over the world, I think it's fair to say. It's from America and other places, which is amazing. That's where the time difference helped, I'm sure. To keep you going for 24 hours. So, I mean, how did that idea come about? What was your motivation behind it? Obviously, as you say, you've raised a huge amount of money for a very deserving charity in the Big C. What's the story behind that?
The story behind it, James, again, and I think the business lesson in this is that you should always listen to your customer, not just talk to your customer. You should listen to them. And to translate that into the world of Talk Norwich City, we've always listened to what our audience really want. And there was an idea that was put into the comments on one of our shows, which was, you guys should do this for 24 hours and raise money for charity. And we kind of banded it about, and we had a bit of banter, and Jack will happily admit that he dismissed it. He didn't want to do it. He didn't believe that he could do it. And I always thought, and he'll be honest, I've always said to him, oh, go on, Jack, let's do it. So I kind of roped him into it.
Yeah.
But the only way that we could have made it happen is, as you've said there, James, by getting guests on, because without that consistent stream of conversation, I can't talk for 24 hours straight. I don't think anyone can. Yeah. So what we did was we set up a planning document, and luckily, because of the fact it was for the Big C, Norwich City legends, Norwich City journalists, and as you've said, fans from New York, South Africa, Brazil. We had the Brazilian Canaries on at 2 a.m. UK time. Amazing. Singing, dancing, giving their thoughts and their opinions on this epic season for Norwich City. And what happened, in short, that's why we did it.
Yeah.
And what happened is, as time went on, it grew a lot of momentum, and probably fair to say virality in the local area. And the EDP jumped on board. Like to be fair, the community of Norfolk really got involved, and it was incredible, James, because the money at the start was like trickling in, and me and Jack said, look, let's just raise £1,000. We think that's ambitious in itself. £1,000 is a lot of money.
Yeah, it is.
It's a lot of money. And I feel like most fundraisers, I think £1,000 you would be really buzzing about, about.
Absolutely.
Anyway, so we hit £1,000 within the first hour, James.
So you're like, we mean business here.
And we were thinking, what on earth is happening? What's happening here is special. So we were messaging each other saying, well, I don't know what we're going to do here, but it's just getting bigger and bigger and better and better. And then the players got involved, James, which has never happened.
Right.
And it's very rare for a professional footballer to donate something financially. Everyone knows that they've got more money compared to the majority of us. And of course, it's all, relatable and relevant to the industry that they're in.
Absolutely.
But most of the time, they'll gift sign things if they can. And that's incredible. But we had players donate to the cause that we've never spoken to before. Like, we've got relationships with a lot of the players, Anel Hernandez, Tim Krul, Max Aarons, to share a few. But, we had players like Ben Gibson and Ollie Skip donate, who we've never spoken to before, but they'd heard about it and they'd seen it. And so I think it's just a really good example of when you do something for the right reasons, I think it has the opportunity to do something really special, so long as that you've got lots of people involved. And so that's what happened, James. And to be very honest with you, I'm very lucky and blessed to have done loads of amazing things in my life. Things like, I've been in supercars, and I've gone to incredible places on holiday. I'm very blessed to have done that. But if you were to say to me now, what's the best thing you've done in your life? I think that might be it, because not only was it fun and enjoyable, we raised just an ungodly amount of money that's actually made such a big difference for the Big C, North Waveys Cancer Charity. So I'm very, very proud.
Amazing, mate. Amazing. And like you say, yeah, you know, you raised so money so quick, and then it just kept coming through. And I mean, I tuned in myself a couple of times throughout the 24 hours, and every time I tuned in, there was more money being given and stuff like that. And to be fair, you looked very vibrant throughout. I think by the time we got to the end, you were done, weren't you? You were like, where's the turn on? Where's the stop button? I need to get off it. I need to get off it. But you did. You kept yourself well motivated throughout, which is amazing. But I suppose, when you're raising that type of money, that's got to be a massive motivator for you when you're on air for 24 hours, surely.
Yeah, definitely, James. Like, the amount of money really kept me going. Obviously, the grief of losing my mum to cancer really motivated me to do it as well. So that was the fire in my belly. And every time a guest came on, or every time someone commented, it just really gave us a lot of energy. So I think the hardest part, I know people will laugh at this, but that sort of 4 a.m. till 6 a.m. was horrendous. Like, I almost felt a little bit drunk because I was so exhausted and going through that barrier of, okay, you're not sleeping tonight. And that was a real challenge. But quite frankly, we had 3 cans of Red Bull, got through those. We had pizza late at night, but it was the power of the people, both through donations and comments, that really kept us going. And again, it just shows, like, we're so much stronger together, James. To go a little bit deep on you here, but I think it's important. I think we've learned in this pandemic more than ever before the power of togetherness and community, whether that be your business as a team unit. And actually, sometimes if there's a rotten apple, it can massively, ruin the company culture or the atmosphere or the sales revenue. And in any sort of project, I think if you have pure togetherness and community spirit, you can achieve the most incredible things. And so, that's the story in itself. Really.
It's amazing. I mean, just switching gears a little bit. I mean, you're one of the most giving, kindest people that I know. To be fair, and I remember beginning of lockdown, you were sending. I was lucky enough to receive a voice note from you. You were sending voice notes to quite a few people, just checking in, asking how people are. Now, that was very early days in lockdown. You know, my view is you're still doing those types of things. How have you kept yourself in what you do? So with Reeve social media, TNC channel, but your life. How have you kept yourself in a place so positive and so motivated to still be able to give back and to still be able to make sure you're there for other people? How have you dealt with that?
Well, it's a really good question, and I'm not going to sit here and preach to people and say I'm this indestructible motivational guru, because there has been periods where, particularly January and Feb this year, where I think it's fair to say that even I would describe myself as a motivated, optimistic, positive person, but even I was affected by that in Jan and Feb. But what's kept me going, James, and what has always given me energy is genuinely giving and helping, again, for the right reasons, and doing good for goodness sake. And I don't mind sitting here on camera and saying this. Businesses sometimes do things for PR reasons. You can see right through it, and it doesn't give you that good energy, that motivation drive, because you know why you're doing it. You're doing it for a bit of positive PR. But in terms of like how I've kept myself going, James, it's by sending people like you voice messages saying, James, how actually are you? Let's have a conversation. What can I do to help? And more often than not, the reply is, Chris, you actually can't do anything to help me in my world at the moment, but I just really appreciate the fact that you've bothered. And I think something that I'm a huge believer in is that 51-49 relationship scale.
Yeah. And
if you're putting 51% of the effort in and giving more than you get back, you always win, you always grow, both in a career or business or financial sense, but also as a personal mental health and well-being sense.
Absolutely.
And I think it pays dividends in the long run hugely. The opportunities and the relationships that I've created throughout this pandemic would not have happened if we weren't in this position. So I think, to answer your question the long way round, James, it's by just making the time and effort, I literally spend probably at the moment, I'd say at least half an hour, maybe even 40 minutes every single day, messaging people, video messaging Norwich fans, random business owners, voice messaging people, friends, family, like 100%, just giving, not expecting anything in return, but just sacrificing that time, knowing that it's the right thing to do for the world, just to show that you genuinely care.
What do you do, Chris, though? What do you do for yourself? Because it's very easy, isn't it, when you're there, and I get told this by my colleagues all the time. It's like, yeah, it's lovely that you care, and it's lovely that you're always there, but what are you doing to look after yourself? What do you do yourself to make sure that whilst you're doing that, and that's great to do, what do you do to remind yourself that actually, I still need to make sure I look after myself at some point each day?
Well, I've got something with me, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a minute, which has been something that I used to help on that note. I've started running. I hate running, James.
Yeah, mate, so do I.
I'm a gym bunny, right? Yeah. I love the feeling of pumping iron, of doing weights, of getting my music in and really going for it in the gym. But I've got into running, and that's given me a lot of headspace, but most importantly, digital downtime, and being in the social media world, I cannot not be glued to my phone because I have to be at the forefront of the latest trends, news, hashtags, platform updates, and then all of my stuff I'm doing TNC. So I have to get away from my phone. So I think having that digital downtime has been so important. Something that I started doing during the pandemic is stretching every morning, which is almost like my yoga. And a lot of people, I know a lot of people say this, but genuinely make the effort to stretch for 10 minutes every day without your phone, without music, without distractions. That's been really good. And then to go on to it, James, reading this book every day. It's called The Daily Stoic, right? And it's by Ryan Holiday. Well worth a purchase. Must read.
People go out, get it now.
100%. And so what this is, James, to put it very, very short, is it's basically just a page. All you do is you read a page every day. And it's a page of wisdom every day. As you can see, it's such an easy read. I don't read massively at all. I'm a podcast listener. Yeah. But it's really helped me. And it's basically a book on wisdom. And it helps with things like positivity, motivation, action. What is the bigger picture? And I think more often than not in the modern world, everyone is so focused on the here, the now, the tomorrow, but people don't make enough time to actually zoom out and think of the bigger picture, James, whether that be for one individual business challenge, for example, whether it be a relationship strain or challenge, whether it be a problem with your family. And I think that's really helped me during the pandemic, just reading a page of the Daily Stoic every day. And making the effort to what I've called zoom out, aka reflect. I would highly recommend that to anyone.
Is there one particular day stroke page that has resonated with you more so than anything else? Is there one that stands out, maybe when you're having a bit of a harder time?
Do you know what, James? I know this is going to sound corny, but every page has given me so much value. But what I would say is, and what I've always said is, well, there's a few things, right? When I'm having a dark day or a bad time, I have a gratitude journal on my phone, which I read, whether that be, I'm having a day reflecting on my mum, grieving about that loss, whether I'm just having a bit of a crap day, to put it in frank terms, James. I'll read my gratitude journal. But the other thing I do every day as well is I read my affirmations. And these are by my laptop. So they read ahead of schedule, ideas and solutions, relentlessly positive, above and beyond, and gratitude and perspective. And I think, if I just spend some time every day trying to live by those affirmations, no matter what happens, I'm going to have a good day. And so that's what I would do. That's my backstop. If I'm having a bad day, read the affirmations, read my gratitude journal.
Perfect. So you talk about social media. So you've got your company, Reeve Social Media. Lots of people about Norfolk will know. People further afield who watch will not. So check out Reeve Social Media. But talk to us about that. What challenges have you had in the last sort of year with that business and being, I suppose, a newish business still?
Yeah.
So at the beginning of the pandemic, to a certain extent, how have you combated the last year with that? How's things going?
Yeah, more or less just about up to a year in business now, which is an incredible achievement for me, because I was one of these people that was always told, I shared on my Instagram story the other day, I was always told, no, you can't do it, it's too risky. And now I've taken that leap of faith because of the pandemic, blessing, by the way. That's hugely helped. And so, Reeve Social Media, we help people run, create, maintain, curate content for their social media channels, whether that be LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, everything more or less we do. But what I think a challenge, James, is that people have had to go from A to Z very fast, and we've always known in the backs of our heads that social's been something that's been important and it's coming, and you need to give it more time, love, and attention. It's not a tick box. I think a lot of businesses have thought of social as a tick box for a while, but now they have really come to learn and appreciate the fact that without that top of that funnel, that attention, those touch points for your ICP, your target market, it takes longer to get that sale, quite frankly. So I see and Reeve Social Media, we believe in making social simple, and it's all about speeding up the process between prospect and customer. That is social media. It's as simple as that. And so I think the challenge, James, hasn't necessarily been for Reeve Social Media or my business, but the challenge has been me actually having to spend a lot of time educating a lot of people on what they have to do. It's not now an option. If you're not on social media now, you
might as well not be about.
It's a big red flag. It really is. So
Good. And you've seen the business grow in the last year because of that?
Yeah, no, definitely. And actually, you know what? It's been really interesting over the last year seeing which sector turns on at which time. For example, in the last couple of months, I've been inundated with physio businesses because obviously now restrictions are being lifted. People want to go to site now to get a bad back attended to or something like that. So that's been interesting. A lot of B2B businesses, B2C, people are valuing personal brand more than ever before. So I'm working with a lot of non-execs, directors, chairmen, all sorts of individuals. And I think because of the pandemic, it's like people now know more than ever before how people buy from people. I know that's a really corny classic business.
It's still true.
I think it is true, James. And like you'll know this through Indigo Swan, and with all the love and respect in the world to Indigo Swan, people buy Indigo Swan and use you guys for you guys. And it's almost like the brand, the logo, that's at second base.
That's
right?
What it is,
100%. So I think people have really tuned in and turned on to having a personal social media strategy as well as a business social strategy. That's what I've been spending a lot of time helping people on.
Oh, no, I completely agree. We spend a lot of time, with the Swans, as we refer to our team.
Love it.
Getting them to develop and improve their own personal brands, because it's all well and good sitting under, like you say, sitting under the banner of Indigo Swan, but if you're going to go out and meet a client, you want to make sure that your own personal brand is increasing and improving, so that people can sort of relate to you and understand what you're about. So I completely agree with that point. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's trust. It's trust. It's such an important trust building exercise. And even if I think of LinkedIn, for example, just one example, James. If I search Indigo Swan on LinkedIn, and I go to the employees of Indigo Swan section, I can now stalk each of your swans, and I can really gauge an idea on your company culture, how long they've been at your organization for, how proud are they of your organization, aka are they sharing content regularly? Are they getting involved in charity events? How much do they really buy in? And they are, by the way. So huge well done and kudos to Indigo Swan. And I'm not just saying it. I'm being very honest. Like getting your team to buy into social completely as a team unit is a very tough task, and you guys have done it very well.
It is, but it's such a big thing, isn't it, Chris? Like I said, you've got to work hard at that now. As much as you work hard at every part of your business, it's like you were saying, social now is such a big thing. You have to work hard at that, and you have to help them get it.
Yeah, definitely, James. But I think there is, and obviously it's great, and it's the reason why people like me are in business, right? But I think people are overthinking it massively. And I'm a big believer in a 10 out of 10 piece of social content doesn't exist. Even a viral piece of content, you could always look at a piece of content and say, oh, I can tweak that, change that, format that, different hashtag, different image, lighten it, blah, blah, blah. You can tweak and fiddle and flop around with content all day long. But what I'm saying to people is it's so much better to just execute and be consistent and get content out there. So long as that you're placing a high value on what I would call edutaining, either educating or entertaining people, and always giving value to your ICP, you'll win. Just honestly, you can make social simple. Just create a strategy, create that consistency, and get stuff out there that will help people. And when I've switched my mindset, I went on a really incredible sales course by Matt Sykes, actually, who I'd highly recommend speaking to. And he changed the game for me in sales. But I've actually applied that logic to the Reeve social media blueprint as well, which is just help people on social media. If you're helping people, you'll speed up the process between prospect and customer. It's as simple as that.
Very true. Very true. Do you have any favorite? I don't know if influencers is the right word necessarily, but do you have any favorite people on social media? Is there anything you look at and go, do you know what, these guys get it? Whether it's an individual or business, do you have any favorites?
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, all three of these people are high flyers. I also think there's a lot of what I would call micro influencers, both in the local Norfolk community doing incredibly well, by the way, which is worth noting. But I think three big hitters. The first one, someone that's always been a massive inspiration to me, is Gary Vaynerchuk, who's marketing king. Reason why I love him is he's all about execution, motivation, positivity, optimism, what's coming next, big enough and brave enough to forecast, to predict, to actually ask questions from nothing scripted. No. I think more than ever before, and this is why I love audio platforms, James, like Clubhouse, Twitter Spaces, which is now a thing. If you're not exploring that, make sure you explore.
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, 100%. So audio are now, with audio, you're now finding out which people really know their stuff, which people are confident enough to put their face on camera and say it how it is, right? Yeah. And I think that's a hell of an opportunity for really good businesses like Indigo Swan, for example. Like Fountain Partnership, for example. So that's a really, really good thing to do. So Gary Vaynerchuk, first one. Second one, I would say is Jake Humphrey, who's always been my idol, actually, if I'm honest. Growing up, he went to the same school as me, Framingham Earl, probably 8 or 9 years above me. But I love how he documents his process, and his number one goal is to just give positivity. And a lot of people will go, yeah, but you're just putting motivational quotes and that, well, I mean, that's tacky. No one likes that. People like that. There's so much negativity and nastiness and divide. And if anyone's watched The Social Dilemma on Netflix, you'll understand that the more you engage with something, the more the platform will give it to you. So all of a sudden, if you start spouting negativity and engaging with negative news and engaging with negative stuff and saying negative stuff, guess what happens, James? You get to have more of that up. So stop doing it. Be the change you want to see and broadcast that positivity. So Jake Humphrey, second. I think the last one for me, cool. It's a toss-up between two people, but I'd probably say Stephen Bartlett, who grew Social Chain from a startup social agency to being a massive, huge multinational organization. And again, the reason why I love him is he's really brutally honest, and he cuts through the noise. So he's not afraid to say, this is what's bad about the industry, this is what's good. And he's really transparent. I think more than ever before, I'm placing a real high value, James, on people that are confident enough and brave enough to put their face on camera and just be honest. Who's having a bad, if someone's on their Instagram story, for example, saying they've had a bit of a naff week, I'm placing a massive, I really trust them. I think that's more important than before. So those are my three influences.
I think more of that, isn't it? More of that. Let's be honest on social media. I think that's so true. It's like, you say like Facebook is just made up of people's highlights, isn't it?
They all are. But people want to help, James. This is the thing, right? When for example, right, when I was made redundant at the start of the pandemic, before I started my business, I told the world that. And a lot of people will say, oh, Chris, you don't want to, that's a bit selfish, or it's a bit moany. But I cannot even begin to emphasize, if you ask questions and ask for help. People do this on LinkedIn all the time, right? They say, does anyone know someone in this sector or connected to this person or can help me with this? People want to help, but you have to want to be helped. So ask questions of your social media audience. Don't be afraid. So I'm a believer in, James, vulnerability is tremendous strength. And I think if there's one action that I would say to people today to go away with, it would be on social media, try showing vulnerability and see what you get back, because I can tell you for a fact, it will only be positivity.
Absolutely. And engagement is engagement.
Well, yeah, it all helps, doesn't it?
At the same time, isn't it? It's like,
conversations. Sorry to interrupt you, James. I think the main metric for success on social media for me is creating and having conversations.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. Likes don't matter. Shares don't matter. Followers, they don't matter. To be really honest with you, and people come to me and say, Chris, I want to get 10,000 followers by Christmas, and say, you're not the client for me. You need to be having conversations with your prospects and with your current customers. Create advocates for your business. And that is the way you grow and make more money. And that's how you properly utilize social media.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. Look at it. Look at the value that Chris Reeve was bringing to this
episode.
I'm loving it, mate.
I wish I could spend more time, but we're
loving it.
already over.
We'll start wrapping up, but I suppose in closing, what's next? What's next for Reeve Social Media? What's next for TNC? Well, what's your next year look like? I suppose. What are the plans?
Great question. Something that I'll happily admit that I'm currently still thinking about. Actually,
I imagine so.
Because I think the pandemic, although I've had the attitude of thriving and not just surviving, I think now maintaining for a year after the pandemic is okay. By the way, I think that's actually okay. Yeah. I don't see that as negative. So for me, I want to continue to impress my customers, continue and keep up my 100% client retention records, client happiness stats. I want all of that to remain the same. I think so Reeve Social Media, it's about maintaining and growing, but not aggressive growth, James. I'm not going to sell something to someone that they don't want or they don't feel it's important to them or their business. And I think for TNC, it's about getting back into the stadium and actually filming in the stadium again. Like, I think just getting back to normal for the next 6 months is the most important thing. Amazing. Well, Chris, thank you ever so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. If you guys haven't checked out TNC, then please do. We'll stick a link to that when we post this video, and also we'll stick a link to Reeve Social Media as well. So check that out as well. But Chris, thank you ever so much, mate. As always, very, very valuable to speak to you. Some amazing tips and some wise words. So thanks for coming on, buddy. Absolute pleasure and honor. And thank you so much to Indigo Swan for hosting me today. No worries at all. Cheers, buddy.